Greetings from New York City. This is Chris Franco. Thanks for stopping by. I've been asked a lot of questions about Coinbase and the future of Coinbase's stock. A lot of people want to know, do I think the stock's going up? Do I think it's going down? Unlike Cathie Wood, who, we believe.
Our Bitcoin price target, which is more than $1 million per Bitcoin in 2030.
Unlike Cathie Wood, I do not claim to be able to see the future with any sort of certainty. But what I do try to do with a question like this is just be rational and look at the really obvious things. Let's take a quick look at how Coinbase has fared this year. It's down about 82% year to date. The majority of Coinbase's revenue comes from transactions, that is, when people are buying and selling crypto. This is not just retail investors like you and I, but also institutional investors. So the question is Coinbase a stock worth owning?
We have a high degree of confidence in Coinbase.
And if you do own it, do you expect the price to go up in the coming quarter? Here's what I think. I think Coinbase is in trouble, not because it's a bad business or that it's run by bad people or that it's losing market share. In fact, you could argue that with the collapse of FTX, Coinbase might actually gain market share.
I think that Coinbase is going to come out here looking very, very strong. It just lost a very big competitor in FTX.
But in the short term and potentially the medium term, we have to look at what Coinbase generates most of its revenue from. In the past quarter, 62% of all revenue came from transactions. That is, when individuals and institutions are buying and selling crypto. The chart that I put together here comes from the information found in Coinbase's annual report as well as their quarterly reports. And what it shows us is the retail and institutional revenue broken out. Now, I didn't do a great job of labeling this because I was just doing it for myself, but red is institutional revenue and blue is retail revenue. So since Q4 of 2021, revenue from transactions has gone down for both categories every single quarter. When we think about where we are right now, we're in Q4 of 2022. Coinbase was already not necessarily feeling great about the crypto winter and what that would mean for their transactional business. Let's think about what's happened since then. We have Sam Bankman-Fried, the fat vegan.
Hi, I was looking at your chart and I noticed that you didn't label the blue compared to the red.
Sam Bankman-Fried and the collapse of FTX have, I think, turned the crypto winter into potentially like a crypto apocalypse. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and get everyone worried and say, it's over, but I'm just not buying that in this current climate. This comes from one of Coinbase's recent investor presentations. And look at trading volume. This is in billions. Trading volume was 93 billion in Q3, peaked at 177 in Q4. Not surprisingly, it peaked when the price of Bitcoin peaked. Q1 down, Q2 down, Q3 down, and as I said, I'm expecting that to be down this quarter. The institutional story is the same as the retail story. Q4 it peaked, and it's gone down every quarter since. Why would that be? There was a Financial Times article that I read back in July of this year. It noted that there was a surge of trading in stocks and cryptocurrencies among investors last year, and that provided a powerful but fleeting boom to brokerages with high trading volumes and record-setting new customer signups. Inflation and rising interest rates have damped investor enthusiasm. The number of trades placed at traditional U.S. brokerages plunged 32% in the first quarter of 2022 compared to the previous year. Now, why do some investors love Coinbase, particularly Cathie Wood? Why does Cathie love this stock so much? I would argue there's a bit of confirmation bias here. I would argue there's a bit of delusion, and I'd argue that she's an idiot. I don't mean her personally, but if you watch my past videos on Cathie Wood, I do a pretty good job of explaining why I believe that she's really bad at what she does.
If we're right, and we're probably not, it's going to be so good. You can just believe it.
Cathie, I've got a question.
Shut up.
The genomic space, the robotic space, energy storage, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology.
In Q3 of 2022, that is the last quarter that we have on record, Coinbase generated about 62% of its revenue from transactions. Now, keep in mind that there was a big boost on interest income that wasn't there in previous quarters, so typically I've seen Coinbase's transactional revenue make up more than 62%. It was actually a smaller piece of the pie in Q3. But with that being said, let's just pretend it's always 62%. That's where the majority of the money's coming from. So the question is, what would make that go up? Well, people would have to be buying and selling crypto and doing it very frequently. That's not happening. My price prediction for Coinbase, I see the price of Coinbase going down. I'll say that by the end of the quarter, Coinbase will be priced at about $2. I'm just kidding. I have no idea what the price would be because that's not something that we can predict. People waste a lot of time trying to predict prices in the short term. But really what you're trying to do is predict human behavior, which even with the best machine learning models and in a gigantic data set with pure data, clean data, very clean, You still can't do it. So rather than waste our time with that, I have no idea what the actual price would be, but I would imagine when the quarterly earnings, that is the Q4 2022 earnings, come out, I would expect things to be looking pretty ugly. And I believe because there is still some optimism about this stock, and because some of the expectations were set before the FTX collapse, among other things, we should expect the price to go lower. Now, I'm not rooting for that. I'm not shorting the stock, but if I were a betting man, I would bet on Coinbase going down. Now, does that mean the company's dead? Does that mean, it has no future? I'm not going to go that far, but I don't believe that any business that is very much attached to the idea of people buying and selling crypto, or institutions for that matter, is really a business I'd want to own. There's just too much uncertainty. There's a lot of things that could still happen as far as regulation goes, as far as competition goes, and just generally the consumer appetite goes. We've just come out of a mania. Given the price decline of Bitcoin, I can almost guarantee that people will be buying and selling a lot less crypto than they were in previous quarters. And by default, they'll be doing less of that on Coinbase, which means Coinbase and Coinbase's revenue is going to go down. Something else I want to show you guys here. This comes from whalewisdom.com, and Whale Wisdom tracks what all the 13F filers are doing with their portfolios. So if we look at the top Coinbase holders, in the top 10 here, we have ARK Investment Management. It's about 3.5% of the portfolio, and we know that Cathie Wood bought more Coinbase this current quarter. Cathie Wood has a vested interest in this company. It would be kind of weird if she's championing Bitcoin going to $1 million per Bitcoin by 2030 and not owning a company like this. And again, Cathie Wood is not a great investor, at least not with the amount of money that she's managing now. So I wouldn't take her pick as something that you should do. And that's just my opinion personally. Do your own research, but I just want to speak to you honestly. I think she's an idiot. Can Coinbase's stock recover? It really depends on if the crypto market recovers. That is, do people continue to believe that if they buy and hold Bitcoin, that the price will continue to rise, and by doing that, they will be able to capture this unfathomable amount of wealth in a short period of time and for doing nothing? Now, if we use a little bit of uncommon sense here,
try and have more uncommon sense than most.
In that scenario that I just described, that's fantasy land. Name the opportunities in life that come along where you can get really rich really quickly without having to really do any work. They don't exist. I wish they did, right? I would be all over that. I'd be all over those.
Luring people into the concept of easy wealth without much insider work.
The belief in Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum and some of the other coins like Dogecoin, there are people that believe that is the path to wealth, that is their ticket to the promised land of economic and financial freedom. It's delusional, but I don't fault them for wanting that. So ask yourself before you buy into anything like this, am I doing it for the right reasons? What do you think is going to happen with Coinbase's stock in the future? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, I hope you'll take a second and do that. I appreciate it very much. Talk to you soon. Later.